This is Cobran. For more Final Fantasy XIV lore and theory, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And don't miss our podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern on YouTube and Twitch. As the First Era drew to a close, the 13th lay in ruin. The flood of darkness had created a void filled with aether-starved horrors, the twisted remnants of the inhabitants of the 13th. The Ascians realized that it wasn't enough to tip the etheric balance. There needed to be a twin cataclysm on the source in order to break down the barriers between the shards and force them to rejoin. Shaken by the loss, the Ascians now worked in pairs and set about rejoining the other worlds. Meanwhile, on the source, a tribe of Mughals led by their chieftain, Mogul XII, were living their days above the clouds on the peak of the highest mountain in Eorzea, Somal. One day, Mogul had a vision of a star shower. His soul awakened as he watched fire rain down from the heavens, and he realized the danger posed to his tribe. Aided by his household guard, Chieftain Mogul XII set about preparing for the coming calamity. He handpicked members of his tribe to make the journey to the world of man below. As the winds began to blow, Chieftain Mogul XII fashioned a rope of miraculous length for the Mughals to climb down. He gathered those he had picked, watched as his people descended to safety. After the last Mughal descended, he remained behind with his kin in the clouds, and never saw them again. A torrent of wind ripped through the land, breaking down the barriers between shards. As the aether of an entire world flooded into the source, the fifth was swept along with it, rejoining it. And so began the modern history of the Sundered Source. Scholars largely attribute mankind's learning the essentials for survival during this era. Living in caves, mankind discovered the ability to make simple tools and mastery of fire. They painted their world on cave walls, two-headed bison, winged coral-like scalekin, and trees over 1,000 yalms high. The nomadic nature of the races eventually yielded to an agricultural revolution. This gave rise to towns, communities, and eventually kingdoms. As years went by, technology continued to progress, and basic sciences emerged, such as metallurgy and animal husbandry. But as the kingdoms grew, so too did their ambitions. Soon the tools of progress gave way to tools of war, and the era devolved into a time of constant warfare. Despite this, mankind thrived and continued to expand. Forests were cleared for fields of food. Mountains were mined and gutted to forge tools and weapons. As the forges of war raged day and night, the skies blackened with smoke. Mankind continued unabated, until once again the scales tipped, and the earth itself belched forth clouds of blackest night, until the world itself was shrouded in poison. And thus ended the First Astral Era.